Okay, so we're 10 seconds in. We should have audio now. Today's going to be a fairly relaxed stream. All I'm going to really be doing is coloring in The Pursuit of Happiness, a Zen Capybara coloring book. This was a Christmas present from my other half, and I have not actually colored in it so far, and we're going to be using... Well, you can't see the colors at all. Let's swap over. A bunch of gel pens. So, very first picture in the book. Cute little capybara with its mouth open and kind of a smile. And let's go ahead and get started. Unlike most of my gaming streams, I can see the chat, so if anyone has comments, questions, feel free to ask. I can respond today. Alright, I figure the first thing we're going to do is the teeth, and actually I was about to do those in white, but then I remembered I've seen capybaras, and they tend to have, well, they don't visit dentists. So they don't have pearly whites. They have more of a orangey, yellowed teeth. So we're going to go with that. I mean, it's still going to be fairly bright because we are using gel pens. And gel pens are fairly bright. But it just won't be white. I mean, given it's a coloring book, we could really do it in any color we wanted. Especially since it's a Zen, multiple colors coloring book. It's not like we're going to be doing the capybara in its natural colors, because I'm pretty sure most capybara are not innately paisley. So, I'm kind of stealing my nerves for tomorrow. Tomorrow is my elderly 19-year-old cat Sunzu's dental appointment, where we will find out whether or not she is healthy enough and not too old to have her tooth that got abscessed a bit back removed. So we're just holding off on that. Hopefully the news is good and they can go ahead and take that tooth out, and then we won't have to worry anymore. Let's go ahead and do the toenails in, it's kind of a sparkly red-brown. I don't know how well the glitter comes through on these. It seems to be coming through fairly well, so there's that at least. Okay.
Very crispy, but you're good.
Honey, I'm doing my stream.
Oh.
I had just told you I was going to. In other news, besides the fact that she is having her potential surgery tomorrow, which if she does have surgery, that's going to be expensive. If she doesn't, then we're going to be spending the rest of her life watching constantly for another abscess to form on that tooth. But if she doesn't have the surgery, it's just going to be the basic $120 for the visit with the vet. If she does have it, they were saying upwards of $1,000, so yay, exciting. Thankfully, we do have the money in the bank from the house sale, and we should have a bit over $30,000 left over from it once we've paid the down payment and everything. So we're good for it. Just oof. But it's worth it to keep our old kitty happy and healthy. People like to say, if you can't afford the vet, don't get the pet. Well, I mean, there was a lot of our life when we could not have afforded something like this. But we've had Sunzu for that whole time, so um, thankfully, aside from a few minor vet visits that she's needed over the years, and of course the standard immunizations, she really hasn't had that many needs to visit the vet. Most of our animals are pretty healthy. They just need the, again, standard immunizations, the yearly checkups, things like that. Spaying and neutering, depending on if it's male or female. Because believe me, get your pet spayed and neutered. It's better for them in their life. It's better for you as an owner. Do not declaw. Do not crop ears or dock tails. Those are unnecessary unless there are very specific circumstances, such as a dog who has dew claws, which is the one that's back on this part of the paw, that are so loose that they're catching it in things and risking damage to the skin and the unattached bone. So if that's the case, yeah, go ahead and get that one cut off. But that is a health issue, not a, oh, I don't want my cat scratching my furniture. Things like that. Or, oh, I want my dog's ears to be perky. Because obviously if I get a Doberman, it has to have perky ears. No, they really don't. Like, naturally their ears are not perky, so, you don't want to, just don't alter your pet for aesthetics. Just, if you don't like a certain aesthetic, don't get that pet. Ta-da! Okay, so we now have sparkly, that's almost copper now that I look at it, sparkly copper toenails. Now we need to figure out the next one. There are lots of flowers in this pattern and lots of spots that look like scales. I think I'm going to do the scales in green, because why not? You guys really don't get to see much of what I'm doing. Hold on, people. I guess they changed their mind, which means obviously it wasn't that important. There's a reason I normally do my streams in the middle of the night, but every now and then I'm like, let's do it during the day so more people can have the opportunity to watch. And then my house is Grand Central Station, so it's not a very calm or relaxing stream for the most part. I am going to try to make it at least a 30-minute stream, possibly longer. We'll see how things go. In terms of work stuff, I believe this week or sometime this month, or next month I guess, because this month ends very soon, we will be training another new floor support. We want to get them trained so that, if somebody else can't do floor support, is on vacation, whatever, we've got coverage. Because this week is going to be kind of difficult, because my coworker, who is normally my other floor support, has requested vacation. So it's going to be just me most of the week. And I'm going to be gone on tomorrow night. I've already scheduled off with my boss. I was like, hey, my cat's possibly having surgery this day. Either way, I'm not going to get much sleep because I've got to take him to the vet. So I need to schedule off in advance. And my boss is like, okay, cool, we can. He just, as long as I give him 2 weeks notice, doesn't mind if I take off. Even if I don't have PTO to cover it, I just take it as a planned absence that does not get PTO. So I don't get paid for the time off. Which is fine as long as I make it a point to not do that more than once a week. And even there, I don't like to take off that much per, you know, like I took off Sunday actually last week because I knew that I had my family reunion with my dad's family on Saturday, which meant I was going to be making a long drive down and a long drive back. And so, I scheduled off the following day of work because I figured I would be exhausted, and I was right. I was exhausted, which is okay because, it was important that I go out there, so I did, and I planned ahead. I know that tomorrow I'm going to be exhausted because my cat Senzu's vet appointment is right when I normally would be falling asleep in the morning. So I've scheduled off so that when she has that appointment, I don't have to worry about not getting sleep. The rest of the week I should be working. And I did talk to my boss about it, and I've got a lot of points racked up, and I'm going to be trying not to miss any work that I don't schedule off because those points fall off 2 months after they've been accrued if you don't have any other points. If you get more points that you have to use, then it just keeps going until you've gone 2 months without taking any extra points. So I'm just going to have to be real careful and hope I don't get sick. That's the big one. I did find out I've stacked up almost the maximum allowed of what they call no harm, no foul points, which means days that I could potentially call in and say, hey, I'm using a no harm, no foul, and therefore not get any points. However, even if I use a no harm, no foul and don't get any new points, it still counts against that 2-month rollover period. So I just need to wait for that rollover to end, at which point I can then start using those no harm, no fouls for the future, But yeah, just thinking ahead, trying to avoid getting sick. I mean, nobody wants to get sick anyway. I certainly don't want to miss work. I don't like missing work. Yeah, sometimes for your mental health or your physical health, you need to. But for me, I don't like doing it, even if it is for mental or physical health. And I don't like having those points hanging over my head. So yeah, I'm going to try to avoid missing work unless I schedule it in advance for the next 2 months. Once they're gone, I'll be good. But aside from moving, I can't really think of anything else that I've got that I need to worry about anyway. When we're getting closer to actually getting in the new house, I might schedule some time off for okay, we're going to be transferring the internet over on X day. So I'm going to schedule off work because there's a good chance that things won't go perfectly and I won't be able to work for a few days. I mean, the other option is that I go into the office and still work. I just really don't want to do that. Once I finish the stream today, though, I'm going to be going and getting the twins started on packing their room, and then I'm going to start packing parts of the living room, namely the bookshelf that has all the books, and packing a few other rooms that have books as well, I figure books are one of the quickest and easiest things to pack. So, gonna get as much of those packed up. The plan is put anything that is being packed and is not going to be damaged by heat into the back of my van, so that when we get the keys, hopefully on Thursday, that's the plan, then we can start moving those items that day and get those into the new place. I'd kind of like to paint. I'd kind of like to paint one of the rooms, my room at least, before we move actual furniture in. But it's really going to matter on timing of things. Like, if we know that we're going to have, we know that we're going to have all of the month of July to get things moved. That's not a problem. But are we going to have enough time to move things and then paint before we move them? That's the big one. Because I want to get the painting done before I move, if at all possible. Because it is so much easier to paint rooms when you don't have furniture in them. The only drop cloth you have to worry about is for the carpet. And you don't have to move furniture around to get to the walls, things like that. But I'd really like to, paint some of the rooms in colors that I like. Or at least paint the room that's going to be mine in colors that I like. Because, it'd be kind of nice to have my room be like a cool mint and things like that. Tempting as it would be, I'm not painting the room this color. Because much as I like bright greens, I suspect that nobody else in the house would like. Then again, it's going to be my room. Though I've been waffling about making the boys take the two smaller rooms so they each have their own bedroom, because I'm tired of them fighting constantly, frankly. And I think I'm justified in being tired of that. But they keep insisting that they want their own rooms. So, or that they don't want their own rooms, that they want to share a room. Which, they've always shared a room, but I've always kind of been under the assumption that if they didn't have to, because they definitely have to in our house, we just don't have room currently for them to have their own rooms. But I'd always been under the assumption that if they didn't have to share a room, they wouldn't. But apparently they want to. Though, if I take them out looking at furniture, they might change their mind, because a big part of why one wants, to continue to share a room is he likes them having a bunk bed, but he has suggested that if he weren't sharing a room, he would like a canopy bed. The other wants to keep sharing a room because he likes being on the top bunk. But if we got him a loft bed, guess what? He would then be high up, and we could put his desk under that loft bed, and it would give him more room even in a small room. So maybe... Ooh, those are bleeding through some. Not a ton, not enough to color on the other page, but good to know that they do that with thin coloring book paper. But I might take the boys out to... Please stop using my curtain as a hand wipe.
I was trying to move it out of the way so I can get air.
Ah. But yeah, there's a possibility that if I can find a canopy bed for Fox and a loft bed for Hawk that they both like, we might get that instead of a bunk bed and have them in 2 separate rooms. I'll have to discuss that with them later. But we are making good progress on the capybara. And surprisingly, I am not coloring my hand. Normally when I color things or use inks, I end up with it all over my hand too, because I'm just that kind of perfect little chaos. I think that once I finish with these green scales, I'm either going to do this in the same copper as the toes, or I'm going to use a gold, so it looks like he's wearing a gold ruff. I don't know, I think using the copper would kind of tie things together. I like using the same color in certain ways to sort of, like I said, tie things together. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of other ways I can tie it together, even if I decide to use a different color there. I mean, it's a coloring book. You can do a lot of amazing things. I haven't really made a challenge for myself this time. A lot of times when I'm coloring things, I will make a challenge for myself. Like, I am only going to use certain hues or shades. I'm only going to use these 5 very limited colors. I do things like that because, I don't know, maybe I'm a masochist. Maybe I just consider, it more fun to have a challenge like that. I've done some really cool stuff using those challenges. This one, I think the only challenge here is going to be, I'm going to use just my collection of gel pens, but it's a large enough collection that I don't really consider that a challenge. Yes, dear? Okay.
So come try your gizzards here.
I will once I finish my stream, I promise. My other half is cooking for me, which is wonderful. And I love when he does that because... Excuse me, you're too hot and you're keeping me from moving. Oh my gosh. Sorry, had to move the cat. Once we are in the new house, it'll be a different kitty that you see on stream instead of Lady of the Magnificent Floof. Because when I do my streams, I will be probably in my home office, which means that I will have Sunzu, she of the magnificently old age, in the room with me. Because my office is going to be designated for the mostly a cat-free zone. It'll have Sunzu until she passes, but after that it's probably going to have things like rabbits, rats, other animals that would not necessarily be a safe thing to have the cats around. The sunroom, once we get the French doors installed on it to differentiate it from, or to separate it some from the rest of the house, that room is also going to be designated a cat-free zone, mostly because a certain cat likes to chew on my plants, and some of my plants are not really safe for kitties to be chewing on. So I would rather she not do that. Almost done with the collar though, or the chest though. Once it is done, I will move this so that you guys can see it a bit better, and then I'll get started after on the ruff. Still haven't decided if I'm going to do it in copper or in gold. I mean, a golden ruff would look like very much like the capybara is wearing a gold necklace, which would be cool. But at the same time, you know, doing the ruff in copper, like I said, would tie it in with the toenails. So it's still up in the air for me. And sadly, there's no real way that I can do a test spot. Though, actually, gold, copper, gold, copper. Hold on. I could do that, yeah. Sorry, I just had an idea. I think I'm going to implement that idea. Add more visual interest by changing up the pattern a bit. So, alright, I am almost done with the chest here. And then, there we go. Okay, so that is capybara chest done. And the camera froze. Well, not the best. Looks like. Yeah, the color's still really, really muted. But the camera's frozen otherwise, so we're just going to have to deal with that. Okay, so we're going to do don't get me wrong, I like this little camera. I like the fact it's got its very own ring light built in. I do not like how it does this I'm going to freeze and just not show anything fairly frequently. I'm hoping it decides to stop being a brat, but I don't think it's going to. So. And of course, I can't restart the camera while I've got the stream going, because if I try, my camera will refuse to start because there's another application using the camera already. It's something I've dealt with frequently, so. Yeah, I can't even swap from front camera to back camera and back, because it'll refuse because something else is using that camera. It is just an annoying fact. Oh well. I'll just hold things up as I finish them. Does mean I'm probably going to cut the stream short, though. I'll probably finish the collar, show that off, and then, hey! Camera decided to start working again. Never mind. Okay, good. So I'm going to alternate between the gold and the copper in this case.
Yeah, you guys can get free. No, it's not actually free. Just Nico. So you guys get 2 pieces of 6 and 3. 6 and 4. So you guys get 2 pieces each.
Okay.
Last ring is better.
So there's the gold done. Now let's just do the copper. And I'm hearing from the kitchen that dinner is ready, so I will probably end the stream once I finish this anyway.
Oh, well, sorry, Texas Fish. Hey, Dad.
I'm doing my stream.
No.
Alright, so
No, you guys can have those things right here.
So please take so I have room.
soon as
Now, the gizzards are all based in stone session.
soon as I finish the collar, we'll go ahead and end the stream, but because obviously I'm not going to get some peace and quiet. You know, it's just not happening. But
No. You want you. Yeah, I know. That's right.
yeah, like I said, not going to get any peace and quiet today. It's just not happening. And again, this is why I do my streams in the middle of the night. Shouldn't be such an issue once we're at the new house. But until we get to the new house, things are still going to be a bit tight on when I can and can't stream. Gaming streams will continue to be in the middle of the night anyway, because that's when I have the mental fortitude to stream gaming, because I don't really game that much during the day. I just don't have time to do gaming then. That said, we have a very cute capybara now. I don't know, should I keep going, or should I just accept that food is ready and I should go eat? I can do some more. And yes, I'm reaching for the green again, because green is, you know, is and always has been my favorite color. So these things look like vines to me. So we'll go ahead and do them in green. A brighter green than we used on the chest, which is fine. Bright colors are my forte, after all. I actually really like pastels. Which I know people joke about pastels a lot, that they're so boring or bland, etc., etc., but they're not boring or bland, at least not to me. They're just soft. And sometimes soft is good. I mean, I know people really like jewel tones because they're striking, they're bold. But, you know, sometimes you just want peaceful and quiet and gentle. And I think for a capybara especially, since they are an animal that is like everyone's friend, they don't, like, you'll see them regularly sleeping with an assortment of other animals piled atop them, ranging from monkeys to butterflies to birds to caimans. And while, yes, a crocodile will happily eat a capybara, when the crocodile's full, it just wants to chill, same as the capybara does. Now, do capybaras fight? Absolutely. They bite too. They are a rodent. They have really sharp incisors, or whatever the front two teeth are. And those are, just like most rodents, they grow the entirety of their life. So in the event that you ever should have your hands on a capybara, which you really shouldn't because they're a wild animal, we should not be touching wild animals, we should not be taking them from the wild. But if you are ever in a situation where there's an orphaned capybara or an injured capybara and you have to get it to a vet of some sort, be very careful. Don't let it bite you, which it might, because, again, wild animal. But if it bites you, you will very much regret letting it do so, because it will hurt a lot. Key point here is don't try to take a wild animal out of the wild. It's far better to let a wildlife rehabber or something similar do that. The only reason why I tried to take care of the baby mouse is the wildlife rehab in my area doesn't handle mice. They're too small, too delicate, and frankly too numerous. They don't really need somebody to protect them. So, you know, the rehab needed to use those funds that they had, because most wildlife rehabs have very limited funding. So they needed to use those for animals that are potentially endangered, or had a better chance of surviving. Like an orphaned raccoon, no, raccoons are not endangered here at least, but a baby raccoon is going to have a much better chance of surviving than, say, a baby mouse. Possums, again, not really endangered here, but again, if they're old enough to be out of the pouch, much better chance of surviving than they would in the wild, or than a mouse would. So of course those are the animals that are going to get the resources. A mouse is just, there's so little chance it would have survived. I mean, I was honestly not surprised when it passed, when Surskit passed. I mean, he was baby mouse. Not much likelihood of survival. Still sad, don't get me wrong, it was still very sad, but unsurprising. As for why I decided to use my resources to try and keep Surskit alive, well, because I am a sucker for small things that are in need of help, or even large things in need of help. basically, if something needs help and I have the ability to help it, I'm going to at least try. And yes, that attitude has more than once bit me on the backside. At this point, I'm just used to it, so... Fun thing, capybaras are currently, oh, my hand is now covered in glitter. Good job, me. Capybaras are currently serving as a symbol of freedom and resistance in another country in South America. I cannot remember off the top of my head which one, but basically, some wealthy people had taken over an area and used it for their housing, and they had pushed out a lot of the people that had lived there before to do so. Well, what they forgot to do was they forgot to let the capybara know that, no, you can't live by this river anymore. This is our land that we're turning into golf courses and, stuff like that that's completely unnecessary. Well, the capybara, of course, like to live in water. And so when they spotted that, hey, not only does this area happen to be right on the river where we prefer to live anyway, but also these rich people, how kindly of them, got rid of all of the natural predators. So the capybara moved themselves in and proceeded to do what capybara do, which they're a rodent, which means they breed fairly prolifically. Litters tend to be 4 to 1. Litters can be between 1 and 8, but tend to be about 4. But without any natural predators to kill off said offspring, well, these rich people's golf courses and stuff ended up with an abundance of capybara. And the rich people, of course, did not like this, so they tried to get rid of the capybara, who proceeded to bite and kick and just make an utter misery of any attempt to relocate them, and have now, like I said, become something of a symbol of resistance against developers and rich people coming into areas where they are not welcome, because they proceed to gentrify the area, which makes it where that the people who have been living there for ages can't live there anymore. I've talked about gentrification before multiple times, I know. Generally in regards to the gentrification of foods, but sometimes locations and areas. Either way, the carpincho, as the capybara is known in that area, yeah, they are the symbol of resistance and are being quite enjoyed. And I don't mean just as food, because they are a food item in certain parts of the world, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'd much rather they, eat something that is native to the area and is not endangered, than, say, bring in cows, which can damage the area. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with cattle farming either, but certain parts of the world would be much better off with raising what is there naturally, be it water buffalo, capybara, etc. it's far better to work with your environment than to try to force your environment to work against its own natural inclinations, and that includes with animal management. Personally, I think that we here in Oklahoma should be doing more hunting to manage the local deer population, and once we have them down to reasonable numbers, we should be doing sustained hunting, which one, feeds people, and two, would keep those levels from getting overpopulated as they have been, which would prevent a lot of other issues, including these poor deer starving to death in the winter, cannibalizing each other that have already died. Most of the animals that we call herbivores are actually opportunistic omnivores. They mostly eat grass because grass doesn't run away. But given the opportunity, they can and will eat meat because meat has more nutrients than grass. They are built so they primarily eat grass, and you won't see one eating primarily meat, except in certain circumstances, but those are rather extreme cases. There's an island where, I think I've talked about this before, but there's an island where the vegetation is growing basically in salt water, which means it has very poor nutrient content, and the deer on that island have taken to eating seabird chicks, because the parent birds roost on the island, they lay their nests on the ground, and then the baby deer eat those nestlings, because they're convenient, and they're more nutritious than the grass that is growing on that island. It was rather horrifying for the researchers when they first discovered this was what was going on. But it's fascinating now, because we can look back and go, okay, so this is a case where evolution realized that these circumstances were not ideal and decided to take things a slightly different route. It's always neat when you get the chance to see things like that happen. Not necessarily the most comforting thought, but cattle farmer will tell you that cows will absolutely eat small animals that have gotten into her pen. There is one cattle farmer I follow on Tumblr who regularly laments how often they find the wings of pigeons that had made the poor choice to land in the cow pen, and all they find is the wings. Because again, cattle are opportunistic omnivores. They're primarily herbivores. They get most of their food in the form of plants, but that doesn't mean they won't eat meat when it's available. Just like we call cats obligate carnivores, which means that they primarily eat meat. However, they really don't need to be on a grain-free diet because they also eat the stomach contents of their prey in the wild. And that prey generally is an animal that mostly eats meat, plants. So you'll have grass, seeds, nuts, things like that in the belly of a mouse, and the cat will absolutely eat what was in the mouse's belly as part of their meal. Dogs do the same, which means that your cat or your dog does need some plant nutrition in their diet. Now mine currently are getting a grain-free diet, but that is because our elderly cat Sunzu tends to throw up any other types of food. So we're feeding the others what she gets for her sake. Once we've moved and she's no longer in the same room as the other cats, then there's a possibility we'll swap them to a different diet and she'll just get the remainder of the grain-free. A lot of the grain-free stuff is very fatty, and I mean fatty as in fad-based, not fatty as in fatty. Different words. And I'll admit, I fell onto the grain-free hype at 1.2 because, it made sense. Cats are obligate carnivores. Of course they shouldn't be eating carbs, like grain and corn. But I have since done some rethinking, and especially, listen to people who are more in the know than I am, who basically have pointed out that, a lot of these grain-free, hold on, I'm going to see if I can. Last time I worked to fix it, but a lot of these food producers that are advertising their grain-free product, they are fairly recent. They have not done lifelong trials on the foods that they're giving their pets or that they're creating for pets. And so you'll see these advertisers saying, well, it's grain-free, therefore it must be good, but they haven't done any testing to see, is it actually good? Now, I do know one of my friends does feed raw for his pets. However, the prey that he's feeding them is always starts itching on stream. The prey he's feeding them is whole frozen thawed prey, which includes the gut contents. So they're eating a far more natural diet, and most of what he's feeding them are frozen thawed rats, mice, chicks, things like that. Basically the same things that his cats would be eating in the wild. So they're still getting a very good diet for them. Well, it looked like it was going to show the, oh, there we go. Yeah, I've continued on a bit. We'll see if we'll make it an hour. It looks like we should. Especially if I insist on finishing all these flowers. So. Almost done. But yeah, oddly enough, this was not what I had intended to be talking about on stream. I was wanting to talk about the house purchase and stuff, but, I very much go with what my brain decides we're going to talk about. And it did sort of start out with the house purchase, since Sunzu will have her own room with me. I am very much looking forward to that, because I have very much missed getting to cuddle with my Sunzu. This is going to be a very cute capybara once it's all said and done. I've just got a little bit left to go, and then we'll be ending the stream for today. But then we will do much more next week. At least that's the plan now. If it turns out that we are in the process of moving, and I am doing a lot of my moving stuff at night, because of course I will, then I might not do my streams next week, because, you know, moving. However, there's a very good likelihood that I will still do the streams, because yes, I'm going to be moving. I'm not necessarily going to be doing the moving at, like, 3 a.m., which is when I normally stream. Okay, that said, we're going to stop here with our very happy and so far very colorful Cappy. And I do hope that everyone who came out enjoyed the stream. I hope that you guys are all being careful, being safe. Somebody in my household just reported that one of their friends has gotten COVID by going to a concert. I did not attend Pride yesterday or this weekend because, again, COVID. So be careful, be safe out there, and I should see you next week for the for the gaming stream on Friday night. Well, Friday night going into Saturday, and then again the crafting stream on Saturday night going into Sunday. So thank y'all all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.